You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. What a weekend, man. I had a weekend, bro.
You sure did, man.
I played in this event, this charity event at Crypto Staples Center. And it was all the NHL greats. Will Ferrell, Vince Vaughn was there. My coach was Al Michaels and Danny DeVito. And it was amazing. It was for fire relief and to help with the fires and the people who need, people that were displaced. And it was just a great cause. And a lot of people came out. It was packed. And it was pretty awesome. I wasn't expecting to play well because I haven't played really a lot lately. Mm-hmm. And I scored the first 2 goals of the game.
They were pretty good.
And yeah, from Messier and Theo Fleury. And I felt...
You guys were in sync.
It was so cool, man.
Flying back.
I know, and Snoop was like, that's the fastest celebrity goal I've seen, or something like that. I was like, oh, dude, it was a treat. And it was on TV. So, of course, you got to step up when when the cameras are rolling.
ESPN 2.
Yeah. So it was awesome, man. It was awesome. My body feels like a train hit me. But other than that, it was great. You have a good weekend, man?
I did have a good weekend, yes.
Anything special?
Anything special? No.
Got some new shoes, I see.
Oh, yeah. These were a Valentine's Day gift. They're Lululemon.
Ooh. Ryan's got some Lulus on this morning.
They are kind of like pillows, but yeah, they were a gift.
Really? They're comfortable?
Yeah. I mean, it is Lulu.
Yeah. And you also have a Helix mattress.
I do. I cannot wait to try my new Helix mattress. This is not an ad.
This is not an ad, but you did. They sent you Helix mattress.
I was due for a mattress. You said, "Do you want a new mattress?"
Because I have one,
please.
So I was like, "Hey, I want to be able to talk to someone who could understand what I go through and how much I like it." So I can't wait to hear it.
If you just stay on this track, man, you just get gifts of comfort as well.
Gifts of comfort. Today. Yeah, look at you, man. You're always getting gifts, and Ryan's living the life. Anyway, just a few things. If you want to go to my Instagram at the Michael Rosenbaum and the link tree. I'm on Cameo. It's got all the cons that I'm doing. Chicago, which is another Smallville con. Cleveland's coming up. Ontario, California. Cincinnati. Big cruise. Go to cruiseville.com if you want to come on the cruise with me and Tom. Excursions are available. I already sold out one of my excursions.
Wow.
Yeah, but you can go on a glass bottom boat with me. I think there's karaoke night. There's a bunch of stuff to do with me and the rest of the guys. So get your tickets for the Smallville cruise. It's go time. I'm hoping to get Ryan on there. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it, but because those, it's not like it's $100.
Nope.
Cruises aren't cheap.
They are not.
Although
cheap.
This is reasonable, I think. So, and it's Royal Caribbean, I believe. It's a good cruise.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good one. It's a good ship. I've never been on a cruise, so come enjoy it with me. And if you want to join Patreon, if you want to support this podcast, I know a lot of people are like, "What's Patreon?" Patreon is really a place where it's a community of people who like the show, and a lot of friendships have been born from Patreon. And more importantly, and most importantly, well, that is most important, but it helps the show. So people that give back to the show, that's why we're able to, pay Ryan and Bryce and Jason and everybody. And I just really appreciate you. If you want to join Patreon and support the podcast, we could use your help. Patreon, anything helps. Patreon, patreon.com/inside, right? Patreon.com/inside of you. Inside.
I think it's inside.
Inside. Patreon.com/inside of you. So join, and I'll send you a message, of course, after. But there's a lot of perks, the different tiers, and I send boxes to people and all that stuff, and gifts. And I just had a Zoom with all the patrons, and it was wonderful. And there's so many people on there, and it was just like overwhelming, but really fun. And some people were working out while I was talking to them on Zoom. Some people were, playing with their baby. It was just like a gathering. It was a nice gathering. What else? Rosie's Puppy Fresh Breath, my pet product, is on Amazon. Rosie's Puppy Fresh Breath, just a cap full of in your dog's water bowl in the morning. And it's odorless, tasteless, and your dog's breath's going to be great. I do it every morning for my dogs. So Rosie's Puppy Fresh Breath. And the fart book's out. It's still out if you want to get it. The Talented Farter, my book. Check it out on Amazon. Anything else, Ryan? Anything we're missing?
The album?
Oh, we're almost done with the album. I sent all the vocals except for one song to Blake. Blake is a great producer. Blake Lewis, he's producing the album. He was runner-up for American Idol one year. Good friend of mine, and yeah, it's pretty good. Maybe I could play something really quick. It's a long intro, but
any stage it's?
You can always fast forward if you hate it.
No.
Yeah, we did a stage it, and it was wonderful. People came.
Nice.
So that was good. What do we want to hear? Oh, this is a cool one. It hasn't been mixed yet. No harmonies, nothing. So it's very bare bones.
It was hot as hell, I remember it well. It's just that easy to see. Middle of July, don't ask me why. I was lost as a man can be.
Yeah, so it's coming along great, and it's the people who support the band Sunspin. If you want to go to sunspin.com and support the band, and there's tons of merch. There's great merch, great tumblers, and the Inside of You online store now has Smallville pilots, the pilot episode signed by me, Lexmas scripts, ship keys, Funkos, action figures, T-shirts, tumblers, new tumblers. So go to the Inside of You online store. Tons of great stuff there. And Lunchbox signed by me and Tom. So there you go. Big intro. But let's get into this. So this guy, actor, friend of mine, Jay Ferguson, I've been friends with him. I've known him for over 20 years. And we did a pilot together, and we talk about how we met. And it's a really funny story how they fired this one guy from a pilot, and he was really upset. And then he met me, and you're going to figure out how we kind of became friends. And I love him. And we did this podcast a while ago, but I had so many in the can that I had to air certain ones first. But it's not for a lack of love, or this guy's a terrific actor. And you're going to really enjoy this. And we talk about everything. He's an open book, man. He's always been that. The only thing I don't like, Jay, is he's a Dallas Cowboy fan. That's it. I'm a Giants fan. So, we've given each other a lot of shit, but I do love him. So, Jay, thanks for coming on the podcast, and let's get inside of Jay Ferguson.
It's my point of view. You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum was not recorded in front of a live studio audience.
Well, we got a special guest here. I mean, dude, I've known you since probably 98, 99. We met. Do you remember where? Of course you know where we met.
Well, I do. And I was going to see if you would indulge me and allow me to tell that story from my point of view.
Oh, great. Is it going to just crush me?
I don't know. Maybe. I think it might make you feel good.
These were the 90s, folks.
Yeah, these are the 90s. And
okay, how did we meet here?
So, well, first of all, before I get into that, I do want to just give you throw some flowers your way. When I first heard that you were starting this endeavor, I thought to myself, I can't wait to watch this. It's going to be a disaster. Because
like everything else I do.
Because I knew, like myself, that you enjoy the sound of your own voice. And I thought, well, he's going to have to listen a lot.
I know.
And I've never really seen him do that a lot unless he's acting, which of course he's really good at listening in that regard. And so I did say I'm throwing flowers, right?
You're right, not yet.
So anyway, I will tell you, man, I have just enjoyed thoroughly watching the progression, the evolution. You've been great at it since day one. Of course, you were born to do this sort of thing, and I kid about the other stuff, but I'll tell you this is the big flowers is I was reading an article about some famous actor, really like a prestigious older actor in some prestigious magazine, newspaper, whatever it was. And in the middle of the article, the author of the article says something like, paraphrasing, but and recently on Michael Rosenbaum's Inside of You podcast, so-and-so said this, and they used your interview as a reference for this prestigious actor in their prestigious magazine.
Really?
Yes, and I was
didn't know
just so
that.
happy to see that.
Thank you.
And
That's
you know,
awesome.
I am a huge Stern fan, as I believe you are as well.
Yeah.
And one of the things I love about Howard that I believe most of his listeners love as well, from an interviewer's standpoint, his ability to not just have his questions on his sheet, but to also listen and then riff on new questions based on what he's listening to.
That's
that is what I love about him, and you definitely have that quality from
Well,
what
if
I've
only-
seen, and I really am happy for
Well,
you,
that
buddy.
means the world. It means the world to me because you're not Mr. Compliments. I've known you for a long time, and it's like, you know, even when we work
Well,
together.
I enjoy giving them if they're deserved. I
Yeah,
do.
no,
I
well,
love
I
that.
appreciate it.
Undeserved? No, of course not.
Well, I compliment you, man. I watch you work. The thing about you is I notice what a hard.
And by the way, I don't want to get away from telling our introduction story because I will.
Oh, yeah,
but
no,
I
we'll
wanna-
get into it.
But now throw it my way. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's not even. Well, it's more like, you know, you're this character actor, but you're more than that. But you've worked so hard. I've talked to you during these 25, 30 years. And, you know, what are you up to? Oh, I'm auditioning for this. I'm testing for this. I'm doing this. You just always have such a positive attitude, at least as far as I know. And you work so hard. And it's like there's a lot of good actors out there, but you're a really good actor.
Thank you.
And, you know,
Likewise.
there comes a time when you sort of say, you know, fuck it. You know, I should be acting with these guys. I should be working with these guys. And, you know, it's happened to me. It's, you know, a lot. And I know I belong, but then you have to not resign to the fact, but more like be grateful and sort of look at the outside, look at the inside from, you know, your point of view and go, hey, look, this is what I've been doing. This is what I've done. I'm proud of this. You know, it's a tough business, and you are someone that knows that because you've been through it. Canceled shows, did a pilot. We've done pilots, canceled. It goes for a season, canceled. And then things started to happen. I mean, Evening Shade, obviously earlier when you were young, but as an adult, you started, you know, the Mad Men was a huge thing, and we'll get into that. And The Connors is a huge thing. So it's like the waiting game. It's like, when do you, is there a moment where you decide, should I think of something else? I'm tired of the rejection. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of busting my ass. Or is it just something that you love so much that you're like, I'm going to keep doing this because this is all I fucking know?
Well, having the prospect of a family that you are now accountable for will do wonders for one that is trying to find inspiration and motivation. And also, I will admit, letting go of any
Ego?
so-called integrity, you know, things that were keeping me from working for a very long time when I probably should have been, just because I thought I was too good for whatever it was, you know, just nonsense.
Yeah.
And the day that I let all of that go was the day it all started clicking. Yeah.
Really? You
Mhm.
think, and
I'm not even talking about Mad Men, because that certainly was the defining, you know, change in my career moment, or whatever you want to call it. But even leading up to that, much smaller things like just one-off episodic guest stars,
Right.
you know, just starting to do lots of those types of things. And all the while, you know, as you know, the more you keep the machine oiled, the more ready it is to go, you know, the next opportunity comes around. And so, but I had just also broadened all my opportunities, because I just said, I'll do anything. I don't care. I've got to supplement this family. I promised my wife I would do that when we got married. And I was met with the decision to throw it in or not. And that was
you thought about it.
I had to, but just because I was broke.
When was this?
This was right before our first son was born.
You were broke.
And I spent the last amount of money that we had. I don't know if you remember, my mom used to live across the street from us, right? and her house had just been broken into, and Jenny was, 7 months pregnant, and we're about to have this baby. We've got this lovely yard and stuff in the front. There's always dog shit in it, and people knocking on the door at random because it was just open to the street,
Right.
But after my mom's house got broken into, because she did not have any kind of barrier either, I thought, well, I'm not even gonna take a chance on this. I want my wife to be able to walk out in her front yard with our child and be able to sit down on a blanket and not worry about anything, So I spent the last amount of money we had putting up a gate and
I know
a
that gate.
security fence and
Yeah.
the whole deal. And I think we were in the hundreds.
What do you
And
mean in the hundreds?
I think we were under $1,000 total in our checking account. And
That's terrifying.
yeah. Well, and that's when I was faced with that decision, because I knew I could always go back to Texas. My dad had a pretty successful real estate business going on there. Wasn't ideal, wasn't what I
But
wanted
you were
to
considering it.
do. Fuck yeah. I had to.
How
It was
close were you?
Because, like you said, this is the only thing I've ever known. I know how to do nothing.
Yeah.
No skill, trade, craft, nothing. I mean, yes, I would consider myself a pretty decent gardener. So I suppose, and I honestly, I did consider that as an option at one point. I did consider, we've always loved wine country. That was an option at one point to, downsize, move to wine country, and I would just work my way up at a vineyard or something,
How close were you? When you say you had $1,000 in your checking account, how close were you to calling your dad or taking another endeavor?
I had probably already called my dad, just to verify that if I did decide to go that direction, he would, help kind of train me.
Was he worried about you?
Well, I'm sure he was. My dad doesn't really wear his emotions on his sleeve, though,
Nor
so
does mine, yeah.
I would not have known. I don't think he ever expressed anything like that to me or anything.
Did you feel a certain way, like stress-wise? Did you feel anxiety, depression, all these things? Were you aware of like how you were feeling?
I don't think I felt depression at that point, but I've certainly felt it at various other times. I felt very anxious, of course. Yeah. I mean, thinking about uprooting from this place and going back to Texas, even though I love Texas, was not, what I had envisioned. And
Because you're a positive guy. You're a go-getter.
But that's the other thing is, I was keeping positive about it, and which is what ended up saving my ass, because I kept up until the last possible day that we could survive here. I was still going out on auditions, and
everything.
I went out on this audition for this show that was direct to 13 episodes, no pilot.
Wow, that's
which is unheard of.
That'd be a
pretty
good
much, right? And it was a great get, great show, great cast, great story. Wrong network, wrong time. One of those things, right? But still, fun experience. The biggest thing it did, though, was it saved me.
Inside of You is brought to you by Lumen. Lumen is one of the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It is a device that can help measure your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it lets you know if it detects if you're burning fat or carbs and gives you tailored guidance to help improve your nutrition, workouts, sleep, and even stress management. This is unbelievable. I have one, and every day I just breathe into it, and it gives me all this information. It is technology, man. Lumen.
Did you know that when your metabolism is working properly, you could feel the benefits in literally every aspect of your life?
I have found a valuable tool, Ryan, that helps give me insight to create an improved metabolism for my body. It's called Lumen.
All you have to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and it will tell you what it sees is going on with your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly fats or carbs.
Yeah, and then Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements.
You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals.
I do that.
So Lumen can tell you exactly what's going on in your body in real time, and Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your wellness game.
Ryan, your metabolism is your body's engine, man. It's how your body turns the food you eat into fuel, and that it keeps you going. It's important. And the fact that you just have to breathe into this device and it's going to give you all this information is pretty stunning. It's easy for me. I don't like hard things.
Because your metabolism is at the center of everything your body does, optimal metabolic wellness translates to a bunch of benefits, including easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, better sleep, all the things.
Yeah, Lumen gives you recommendations to help improve your metabolic wellness. You can also track your cycle as well as the onset of menopause and adjust your recommendations to keep your metabolism in good shape through hormonal shifts so you can keep up your energy and stave off cravings. Take the next step to helping to improve your wellness. Go to lumen.me/inside to get 20% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/inside for 20% off your purchase. Lumen.me/inside to get 20% off your Lumen. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode. These statements and products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or condition.
The biggest thing it did, though, was it saved me. And it saved my family.
Your
and
house.
It saved my house. It saved us. It saved my career.
Your dreams,
because I was
maybe?
able to continue going. Now, of course, that was short-lived, as most of them, like you said, are. And then another period of nothing.
A lull.
But a lot of these lulls were self-imposed or self-created. I was not doing myself any favors at that time physically. I had let myself go quite a bit.
Beard, big beard. You tend to grow a big
What
beard.
wasn't the beard yet.
No?
That wasn't until much later, and I just actually shaved it off.
Yeah, I noticed. I was
few
surprised.
days
It's
ago.
nice and clean cut.
But no, this was not big beard, just big body.
You were, how much heavier were you?
I was at my heaviest back then. I think I was around 225.
Did anybody say anything to you?
Oh yes.
Who?
Anybody that cared. my managers, my agents.
What would
at the
they
time,
say? What was the?
Well, I was. They of course didn't want to say anything, but I was the one asking, "Hey, how come all of a sudden now I'm only going up for like the friend of the main guy that used to be good looking in high school, but now has let himself go? That character."
Right.
And they said, "Well,"
You let yourself go.
and that made me angry and
Angry
at myself.
at yourself.
And so I made some changes. Now, the at the time, coming off of that show that saved me, I went directly into a movie that I was very excited about. But in the movie, I was playing a character that was supposed to be big. And I was already big at the time, but then the movie got pushed. And then it got pushed again.
You got bigger.
And I just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger till the time it finally shot. I mean, you should look up and see some stills of
Look
me
it up.
from this thing.
What's it called?
It's called The Killer Inside Me.
The Killer Inside Me.
Yeah, it is shocking.
How much did you weigh?
At that time, that's when I was 225.
225.
Yeah.
And how much are you now?
Probably about 203, 205. I've been trying to work my way down. I allowed myself to get a little too comfortable again, so I had to make some changes.
So after this movie is made, what gets you to start losing weight? And get
That conversation with
That
my managers
conversation.
that said,
It's not a comfortable conversation with a friend or anything to say, hey, look.
yeah. But I mean, it was a positive conversation because it was like, look, you get yourself back into shape, then you're back in that.
And did you notice
category
things
again.
changing once you started losing weight?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Like it was a different game.
No question. no question. Yeah.
So you were now up for roles that you wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, there's a ton of stories that we can go over about that time. But yes, I worked really, really hard. I was going to talk about this when I talk about our introduction story, which is maybe better suited for the end of this. But I was going to touch on and will about how 80% of the things we do, or at least that I've done, have not necessarily been successful by conventional definition, right?
Right.
And maybe it's even higher than 80%.
Yeah.
The majority
most
have
actors.
not worked out by what is deemed successful. Okay.
Right.
But out of every one of those things, and a lot of them, some of them, I was having an awful time on.
That's the worst. If you have a good time on something, it changes your perspective.
Yeah.
But when it's miserable and you're not getting much money, and it's not good.
Oh, I had one. I won't go into specifics, and maybe if I had any balls, I would. But I will stay respectful. But I will tell you, I had one experience that is the closest I've ever come to just saying fuck it and walking off a set and being like, I don't care.
Really? Was it the people?
Me.
Was it some of the other actors?
It was no, not the actors were great. It was the people in charge. And that was and it was people in charge. Well, I don't want to get too specific, but it was a situation that I had been excited about when I found out it was going to happen, and it disappointed incredibly. But my bigger takeaway here, what I was getting at is, even on those gigs, I have found I might have to dig a little harder. I might have to think a little deeper about it. But I always find something positive that I got out of every experience, whether it's been successful, whether I was miserable while I was doing it or not. Every experience I've had, I've been able to look at and say, okay, that's why I was supposed to be a part of that experience. Yeah. It wasn't what I had preconceived.
Even my little movie that was, wasn't a huge success, but like you had a blast.
Oh,
so many people had so much fun on that movie, and it was so difficult, but it was like, and you were really good. People always talk about how good you were. And
we had a blast.
I had a blast. And I love that you came and helped a friend, because a lot of people don't do that. But when you're talking about, you're on a set,
who would pass up an opportunity to go to the metropolis that is Evansville, Indiana?
Yeah. But what is it about an atmosphere when the actors are all getting along, but the producers are bringing you so down that you want to walk off set? Is it how they treated you? Is it how they talked to you? Is it?
I've got a pretty thick skin, so I wasn't taking it personally for me, but I have 3 steadfast rules, okay? You show up on time, you know your lines, and you're respectful to the crew. And,
easy.
Everybody has their bad days where they forget some lines. You get a pass on that. Everybody has a day where you're a little late. You might get a pass on that. I never give a pass for being rude to the crew, because that just shows me me who you are right away. I don't need to see any more. I know
who you are no matter what else you do. I see the person you are.
What you do from here forward doesn't matter.
I think that is absolutely true in life. If you watch somebody treat someone with no respect or belittle them or condescending, that pisses me off like nothing else will.
Yeah. And being rude to we're going down a rabbit hole, but being rude to wait staff at restaurants, like all that shit, like just being rude to people.
Did you say something to the producer? Did you ever lose your cool?
I did with the AD, and then I demanded certain things change before everybody comes back out on the set. The conditions were very brutal. We were shooting in a situation that was very uncomfortable weather-wise, and just a large amount of disrespect to not just the actors but the entire crew, all of the hundreds of people that were involved. So anyway, I don't want to, we don't need to get too deep into that.
I think people like to hear this and know what goes on sometimes on sets, which is very unfortunate. It's not just all movie star magic and, oh my God, look at this. This is the life.
Now, I will tell you, I will not hesitate to call somebody out if they are directly rude, like in your face rude.
Right.
The circumstance I was talking about before was more kind of just the actions were rude. It wasn't necessarily mean words that were said, right? If mean words are said, that's something I can't allow to pass without saying something.
Right.
And I've done that several times.
Well, let me ask you this. So let's go back to, did you always want to be an actor?
No.
You didn't?
Mm-mm.
What was it?
Well, my mom had moved out here to be in the business. from Texas.
And what did she do in the business?
She was an actor.
She was an
Yeah,
actor.
and she made pretty good living doing jobs from time to time, and got a couple recurring gigs on a couple shows, and did a couple big national commercials, and of course, Dad was helping out too. But she did good for herself, and I didn't know what the fuck I wanted to do. I wanted to go back to Texas. That's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be here.
Closer to your cowboys.
I was angry, man.
Yeah,
I was an angry kid, and
were you difficult as a kid?
I'm sure I was. Yeah, I don't think I was probably. I mean, I wasn't in and out of juvie or anything like that, but
But
but I was resentful of my mom for for taking me away from my dad in Texas. Yeah,
right.
and I held on to that resentment for quite a while. Yeah.
And what was it about? How did you get into acting?
I think at the time I was at a junior high, Pacoima Junior High. Shout out. Still love that school. Still love my teachers from that school, my friends from that school. Still see my friends from that school. Still text with my favorite teacher from that school.
What's your favorite
Miss
teacher?
Baker, Lee Baker.
Why was Miss Baker your favorite teacher?
Because she treated us like we were not children. She didn't. She didn't patronize a lot. She was very direct. She raised her voice if she needed to. She cursed if she needed to.
She was a good role model.
She was the best teacher I ever had.
You wanted to be better for her, didn't you?
Of course.
Isn't that something? If you're a good teacher and you listen and you care, the kids respond by trying harder and
there's
listening.
no question. And all the other teachers hated her because the kids loved her the most. And,
of course.
They were all struggling to get that same kind of bond, but couldn't.
Right.
But anyway, that school was big for me for many reasons, but it was a performing arts school. And I had gone there primarily with notions of getting in the drama program, just because I'd been around it. Mom, all of her friends were involved in the business.
Who were some of her friends? Anybody
one way or the other?
Know? Any big actors?
Big actors?
Or anybody?
I don't really think so. I mean, some of her best friends were Harry Thomason and Linda Bloodworth Thomason, who created Evening Shade and Designing Women, of
right?
course. And,
okay.
So they were around a lot growing up, and then Daryl Ann is her name. Giardino is her last name now, but I can't remember what his real name was, but his stage name was Slim Pickens, and that was her dad. And so we would go over to their house all the time, and she had this giant, 10 by 10 foot painting of Slim Pickens over the fireplace, and all of his cowboy memorabilia, and him riding the bomb down, and
okay, so you're in the school.
So I'm in the school, go out for the drama program, but I noticed that it had a bunch of theater related after school programs, right? The drama production was one. There was stage production where you learn how to be a crew member and build sets and lights and do all that stuff. There was dance production. Now these are all kids that really have a natural God-given talent, right?
And want to be there.
Yeah. And then there's me. And I was in the moment thinking, oh yeah, sure, I want to, I guess, just go and do some scenes and drama production, go to the competitions and all of that. But all of those productions, all of those separate little groups would all have their rehearsals, so to speak, after school. So the entire school would leave. Maybe in the athletics were still going on, but for the most part, it was kind of a ghost town. And so I would always look across the campus over to where the dance productions area was, which is where this teacher that would go on to become my favorite teacher, that had not become my favorite teacher at that point,
Miss Baker,
because I was still terrified of her. But I would see her and her group over across the campus, and all of the hot girls were in dance.
I hear this story all the time. It's
production.
always the actor sees the young hot girls, and they're like, oh my God, I got to get into that group.
And that's it was as simple as that. And so I used to fancy myself a break dancer, which I wasn't.
Me too.
But I felt like I could at least keep a beat. I was into hip hop, I was into rap, I was into all of that stuff,
right.
And so I thought, well, next semester I'll go and try out, because you had to audition for all of these little things, and I'll go and audition for dance production and see what happens. And sure enough, I worked my way. I somehow fooled Miss Baker into allowing me to come into that dance production. Because I'm telling you, there were like, people that belonged at professional ballet companies in this
Joffrey.
dance production. It was ridiculous. And then a lot of really talented, like hip hop type.
But she saw something in you.
Maybe she just was being nice to me or whatever. But she's the best. Anyway, that changed everything for me, because then it switched from being about the girls to really becoming about really enjoying dancing and performing. And that.
Did you have to wear tights?
No.
Okay.
No, that level of, or that medium of performing was more interesting to me than the medium of acting.
Wow.
And so I sensed that I enjoyed performing, but I didn't know where that put me. What was I going to be, a mime? Was I gonna, whatever. Right. I didn't know. And so, because I'd done the acting, and we'd gone to a Shakespeare competition, I think, and my duo won second place.
Wow.
And
so you were thriving.
I had done well, but I really wanted to be where the hot girls were. So that's why I went over there. But then I started falling in love with dance. So by the time my end run came at the end of junior high, which back then was 9th grade, now that's, freshman year in high school. But back then it was your last year in junior high. I had started auditioning, because after I had done the drama production, my mom said, well, if you're into this, then she kind of ran with it a little bit. She's, well, we're going to have to get you an agent. And I think some agent just approached me, and that's how we got an agent. But I started going on auditions, but never got one.
How many?
Oh God. I mean, for years. Couple years.
Nothing.
Yeah, easy. Probably started when I was 12 or 13. So at least a year or two, right? And it was always an annoyance. It was like I had to go after school to like Culver City or something like that, drive in the car for hours,
Yeah.
And then I wasn't into it. And so then my mom would get pissed at me that she was having to drive me all over town, and I wasn't even putting in the effort.
Bastard.
Yes, little shit. And so naturally, I mean, I understand that. I would be pissed
Time
too.
for this.
Right. I'd rather be home.
Yeah.
So and she would say, listen, if this is not what you want to do, just tell me so we can stop this craziness. But I felt like I'd be letting her down so much if I admitted that, even though that's what I was feeling.
Right.
I never said that. And so it came to the end of 9th grade, and I had to decide where I was going to go to high school. And a lot of our friends from the dance production were going to be going to this, can't remember, it's another performing arts high school that has a very good dance program, at least at the time. And so I was going to try and go to that high school. And around that same time, I had an audition for something that actually for the first time in years, or maybe ever, was something I was actually really excited about, because it was based on a movie that I loved, and that was The Outsiders. And it was to play Pony Boy. And I'm like, well, this is ridiculous. My cousins and I have all been acting like we're these characters for the last 5 Christmases. We go out in the backyard and, somebody's pony, somebody's soda, and we all
kill Johnny.
We run around and reenact scenes from the movie, with the neighborhood kids out there in Long Beach, Mississippi. And so I knew it well, and thought, well, this would be a lot of fun to do, even though I'm not really into this anymore and I want to kind of do this other thing. If I got this, I'd be excited. But if I don't get this, then I'm going this direction.
And you got it.
And I got it.
And everything else took off.
Yeah, well, because then you're not in a school, you're on the set, you have a tutor. I'd never had any of that. I'd been regular schools for my whole
So this was
life.
kind of a treat. You just get tutored. You don't have to deal with school. You could do parts.
I think it was a treat, but then there was also
you missed out.
Something that I was robbed of, But I'm not complaining. I mean, I'd do it the same way if I could over again.
Did you, since your mom knew people on Evening Shade, is that how you kind of got a foot in?
Oh, I'm a Nepo baby.
Yep. Little nepotism there?
Yep. I'm a Nepo baby.
But you had to audition.
I went in and had a meet. Well, okay. So I had just come off of that Outsider show, and it had been massively popular with everybody that didn't matter. And so...
Weren't you in like Teen Beat and shit?
So it was popular for all of those reasons, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't popular for the right reasons.
Right.
The reasons that would have kept us on the air.
Right.
So it was very short-lived.
Right.
But it had a massive like publicity response in the interim
Mm-hmm.
or in between that time. So coming off of that, I had a little bit of heat coming off of that, and that got me into a meeting. Linda and Harry would not have felt right just giving it to me. No, they would not have done that. They were going to make me audition. So they had me come in and meet Bert, which was
Were you nervous?
incredibly uncomfortable. Oh well, yeah. I mean, of course, it's fucking Bert Reynolds. And I definitely knew who Bert Reynolds was. From our generation, we know
Smoking the
fucking
Bandit,
Burt
baby.
Reynolds.
Yeah, of course.
And been laughing at his movies for decades at that point. Well, a decade and a half.
Yeah.
And so I came out of the womb laughing at Burt Reynolds movies. And so anyway, I think we read a scene or two. Bert and I did. And afterwards, he's like, "All right, kid, let's do it." And that was it. It was crazy.
What was it like working with him? Because I have this feeling that he could be funny and could be all these things, but he just feels like he could be a lot. And also, you catch him on a different day, his mood changes.
Yeah.
Like I could see that he was always fun. Did you see him kind of get pissed off? And
I saw many different colors for sure. Yeah, I saw all the colors, I believe.
was he scary when he was dark?
Fuck yeah, man.
Like how? Like what would he do?
Well, I think like anybody is scary when they're really mad. The contortion of the face and the balling of the fists.
Like you didn't want to, and no one wanted to be around
Oh
him.
no, of course not.
And then he could switch and be hilarious and funny and cool.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But you liked him?
I loved him.
You did. He was good to you.
He was great to me. He was great to me. He was great to my mom. He was great to our family.
Inside of You is brought to you by Shopify. You've heard me talk about Shopify. It's a new year, folks. And if you're starting a new business, Shopify is for you. I use Shopify. If you have a big business, it doesn't matter what kind of business you have. You're going to make more money and be more successful with Shopify. I'm speaking from experience here, Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business making selling and for shoppers buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. When I first got these, started doing these podcasts, I had no idea about Shopify, but I said I had, people are asking for merchandise, and to get this thing up and running took no time at all. Shopify is so easy to use. If you have a product, you upload a picture, you say how much you want the item for. I have a little scale, so how many ounces it is. You could check the analytics of your products that are doing really well, the ones that aren't doing well, what you did compared to last month, last year. Shopify is so easy. I use it every single freaking day. I love these guys, and nobody does selling like Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet.
And the not so secret with Shop Pay that boosts conversions by up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going.
So look, if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. It's so important. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify.
Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use with Shopify.
Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/inside, all lowercase.
Go to shopify.com/inside to upgrade your selling today.
Shopify.com/inside. Look, we're going to move into
let's go.
Stan Rizzo.
Let's go, baby.
You auditioned for Stan Rizzo.
I did.
How many auditions?
It might have just been one.
And with producers?
That was kind of how they rolled back then, because it wasn't meant to be.
Because you met with people and they were like, new. They didn't.
It wasn't meant to be what it became.
You thought it was a one-off?
Well, no, I thought it was more like a 2-3 off. That's what I'd been told.
2 or 3 episodes done.
Yeah.
And it lasted how many years?
The latter half of the run was on for 7. I think I was on for 3. The latter 3.5.
So, when did you find out that they want to bring you back? Or was it just kind of like, we want him back again, and they did that before they made a contract with you?
So going into that first year, that was my first gig back after getting back in shape, so that had yielded that. But when I showed up for the audition, I was suddenly still kind of mad because I showed up and it was a hall full of like offensive linemen and me.
Oh boy.
And I thought, oh man, they don't know that I got back in shape. That means I'm not going to be right for this part because they thought I was still big. And I almost left the audition. I really did. I almost left. And plus I was waiting forever too. I was like, I'm not right for it. And I'm waiting an hour. I'm out of here. But I thank God I stayed. So the first year was just, I had never seen the show. I didn't really know much about it.
You knew it was a big success.
Oh, of course. I knew it was a juggernaut.
Yeah.
But I'd never seen it. So I didn't really know the inner workings of the dynamics between any of the characters or anything. So I was told it was going to be about 2 or 3 episodes. And I just assumed once I read the first episode, my character was such a douchebag that it wasn't possible that he would stick around that long.
Right.
He was bound to say something that was going to get himself fired.
Right.
And it was just a matter of time. And it looked like the writing was on the wall.
Right.
Of course, with that show, what I didn't know at the time was if there was writing on the wall about something, that meant it probably wasn't going to happen because they would like to go the other way.
Yeah.
But so when the season ended, I think the penultimate episode of that season I was in, and it was my last episode for that season. And in that episode, there was kind of a house cleaning happening at the ad agency on the show, and people were being fired. And I first read the script. I kept going through it, because back in those days, and especially for me, still just a guest star, I wouldn't see what was in the script until I showed up for the table read. That's when you got to see the script. And then you had to leave it there. And you would only get your scenes to work on. And so I showed up to that last table read and I'm thinking, well, this has got to be the episode I get the boot.
This is it.
And then I start thumbing through it and I see, people are getting fired. Okay, where is it going to be? Where is it? And then I get to the end and I'm still there. I thought, well, that's odd.
That's cool.
I said, well, maybe that means they'll bring me back for 1 or 2 next year, but I had no idea. They didn't give me any indication to believe that, other than the fact that they didn't fire me.
But you became a regular.
Eventually, yeah.
What season?
That next season.
The next season.
Yeah.
So were you surprised when you got the call from your agent saying, hey, they want to make a deal for your... Did you flip out?
Yeah. But I was already flipping out. Because when I got it, and my ignorance to its... even though I knew it was successful, I was still ignorant to, I guess, how successful it was, or how successful it was in the eyes of prospective future employers here in this town.
Right.
Like all the shows I'd ever been on before, they may have even been viewed by more average viewers week by week, but nobody in this town ever knew they were even on TV.
Right.
This was the first job I ever had where people here were actually watching.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was obviously helpful. But it had. So when I got it, my manager, one of my managers, who's a huge fan of the show already, said, this is going to lead to other things for you. And I, of course, at this point, am so jaded and desensitized.
Yeah, I heard that.
And have been hearing that for so long. I'm like, give me a fucking break. Just let me. I hope the checks still are able to be cashed.
Yeah.
And that's really because at this point we had a 2-year-old and we had twins on the way.
Yeah.
So now the stakes had been risen even more. But sure enough, even though I was skeptical, right around the time my episode started airing, I happened to be in the running for a movie. And I typically have not really done that many movies over my career. Every now and then I'll do one, and it's not by choice. It's just that, it just hasn't worked out for whatever reason. But this was like a studio movie. And really the thing about it for me was it was with a director that I so admired and wanted to
Who's
work
that?
with. His name's Scott Hicks. He directed the movie Shine.
Right.
Movie
Yeah.
Shine. So good. Australian guy. Really sweet dude to me. And anyway, so I was up for this thing. and I was in the running for it. You know, it was me and a few other guys. And what I had heard, I don't know how I heard this or why. It's just a silly thing to know, or maybe I learned it afterwards, and then I was even more surprised. But the other guys that I was up against were actors that were pretty well known. You know, actors that had been in like Academy Award winning movies.
So you thought, I'm not getting this?
Yeah. I thought, but you know, just to get to the level where I was in the room with Scott, and I was doing a chemistry thing with Taylor Schilling, who is the ultimate female lead in that movie. That was, and I was able to tell Scott at the last thing, look, I don't care if this works out, it works out. I just want you to know, man, I'm such a fan, and you really brought a lot of joy into my life with that film specifically, and it's just good to be able to express that to you, you know. And it just so happened that one of the main producers on it was a huge Mad Men fan, and she
pushed for you.
She pushed hard for me, and ultimately got it.
And what was that movie?
And that was called The Lucky One. Oh, and that was the other thing. It was on the heels of like what was the one that Notebook, right? The really successful Sparks novel, right?
Yeah.
And it was kind of on the heels of that. So I thought, hey, it's a Nicholas Sparks movie, Scott Hicks directing it. You know, this could be really, you know, at least keep me working. You know, I didn't have any grand, you know, delusions about what it was going to do for my career.
But your agents were right. Mad Men got you.
Without a doubt. And I couldn't question it anymore after that. And so my wife came out. I was just in New Orleans shooting it all summer. And my wife, pregnant, like 7 months pregnant with twins and a 2-year-old, comes out to New Orleans to hang out with me for a few weeks, you know. And while she's there, we were cooking dinner one night, and that's when the phone rang, and my guys told me they wanted to make me a regular on Mad Men. So it was like one windfall after another, and yeah, it was you know, it was life.
What a beautiful thing! How you know, you look back, it's like I was ready to go back to Texas. I was ready to garden, and then all these things sort of happen. Lose weight, okay. Mad Men, they liked you, and you became really close friends, and still are with John Hamm.
Yes.
What is it about John Hamm that makes him so lovable that people talk so highly of him and, you know, want to be around him and hire him constantly? What is it, and why? How did you become great friends?
Well, he's got a great energy. He's super funny and witty, which is always something that I'm easily seduced by. He loves playing games. I mean, look, it wasn't just John. It wasn't just Hamm. We all were very close, and while it's true that with every gig, you know, you develop this bond that sadly isn't always carried over forever with every person. But then there's some people that you kind of carry it on with. Hamm certainly.
He's a Cowboy fan.
Certainly one. No, he's no Cowboy fan. No, not at all.
But you went to the Super Bowl with him.
Yes, yeah, he took me to my first and only Super Bowl. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. That was in Indianapolis,
but
actually close to.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, talking to you while you were on your way, you were just elated.
Yeah, because
you took your son, right?
Because I didn't know if you were going to be there because it was the Pats Giants too.
Right.
No, I didn't take my son.
No, you didn't.
No,
just you.
This was just us. And like a. You know, I don't get giddy. I don't get starstruck really with actors and musicians, but you put a famous football player in front of me, and I turn into just a little kid. And
Isn't that something?
At the Super Bowl, I mean, it started on the plane right out there. I got on the plane, Hamm and another good friend of Hamm's, and now mine as well because of Hamm, John Schroeder, who's an incredible writer. Tall John.
I love John.
Oh, you know,
I know John. I love him.
So Tall John and Hamm and I were the ones traveling together to the Super Bowl, and then Hamm had a couple other buddies meeting us there. But we were playing a dice game on the plane, right? Just kind of pass the time, and one of the various mini games that we would play back then. And I turn around and look, and at the back of the plane is fucking Aaron Rodgers, and like, what the fuck? Aaron Rodgers, this is like his MVP year for the Packers. And like,
Did you talk to him?
Oh, he came right over and he's like, what are you guys playing? Started playing dice with us. He was the coolest.
Were you just kind of nervous? Like, oh my God.
Oh yeah. Because it was Aaron Rodgers, man.
Yeah.
And even though he's younger than me, I'm still like, I'm such a fan of the game.
Yeah.
And then of course that whole week, it was every corner I turned. It was Troy Aikman,
Tony Dorsett,
Jerry Jones, DeMarcus Ware, Jason Witten. I had
That's
a
what gets you
conversation with
excited.
Bex. Oh my God. And in fact, I'm taking my boys to Cowboys practice tomorrow.
I love it.
Yeah.
I gotta mention it because I met him through you.
Make sure you give me enough time to tell our introduction story, you motherfucker.
Well, we don't have a ton of time, but we're gonna do it.
Okay.
But Leonardo DiCaprio, you've been you still friends? Still close? Of
course.
Still text each other?
Yep.
I met you and we became good friends. And then you invited me to his beach house one day. And I remember playing flag football with Leo and some of the guys. And he was so competitive. We all were so competitive. And every little ping pong meant everything. Beach football meant everything. But he was always so sweet and charming and cool.
I was just with some of those guys in, not Leo, but some other friends from that group in Las Vegas this last weekend. I went out there to see the Dead at the Sphere. So that was...
How often do you see him?
The Dead?
No.
Oh.
They're dead.
My friends, not often
DiCaprio,
enough.
not much.
No.
But, I always think this. I have a lot of famous friends, my close friends aren't that famous, my real close friends, but I have some close celebrity friends. And, hanging out with Leo all this time, wasn't there part of you that was like, I bet you, I know you. You never said a word, but you're like, it'd be nice if he gave me a part in something, or if he did you ever, because he's got, I always think these guys are they're such big movies. They could, throw, but did you ever kind of thinking he's going to throw me a bone? I know you didn't expect it.
No, I didn't. And I didn't expect it. And I didn't think it because I knew him, but more importantly, I knew myself. And I knew that while maybe others would be okay with that, I would never be okay with it. I had to do it on my own. I had to. I would have never been able to enjoy it if I did it any other way, especially that way.
Right.
And now I will tell you though, I was for a very small moment. I wouldn't even say I was in the running. I think they probably just did it as a favor to Leo. But when they were doing Great Gatsby, I had just come off of that Lucky One thing, which is also a Warner Brothers movie. And I went in and, I did reach out and ask if he could assist in at least getting the director to look at my tape of my audition. Right.
And he did.
And at the time there was another actor in the running for it, but then he fell out. And then, and the director had evidently liked my audition. And so they decided to set up a test with, you talk about wildly uncomfortable. Even though they've been my best friends for years and years.
You tested with Leo?
So it was me and Leo and Toby and Baz Luhrmann in a hotel room at the Chateau.
Oh my God.
Doing all these scenes and doing...
How long were you there
take
for?
After take after take, couple hours, easy. Took a break. I mean, we were there so long. But what I was going to say...
Were you nervous?
Of course. But at that point... It's like you got to just
do it.
Leave it all out.
You're there,
man.
Do it. I belong here.
But what I was going to say is leading up to that, and this is just another testament to how awesome those guys are. Both Toby and Leo took time to work with me and workshop it a little bit, and really make every effort that they could to try and make that happen without making it happen.
Right.
And
give you every shot you could.
That I would have felt comfortable with.
Right.
That I was okay with because I knew I'd still have to earn it. But I never want to not earn it.
Were you heartbroken when you didn't get it?
I was a little sad.
Yeah, because you got so close.
Yeah.
I mean, you're with Boz, you're with Leo, you're with Toby.
Yeah, and I thought it had gone really well, and every indication was, but fuck it, man.
Did the director call you?
I think he may have sent me an email.
Did Leo also call you and say, hey, man, great job?
Oh, yeah. All of that. Yeah.
Now, when you're friends with a guy so big, because I'm friends with a guy, but nobody as big as Leonardo DiCaprio. What do you talk about? I mean, you say, hey, you were really great in that movie. You were really, I mean, because there's part of you that doesn't want to say it, but you're his friend. So you want to say, hey, I want to just tell you, I thought you were freaking awesome. Do you still do that? I'm sure as a friend, or do you say, I'm going to be too cool like that? Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about football.
Oh no, God, no. If there's something that I feel like I want to express, I'll express it if it's about a performance or whatever. But usually the last time we were all together was at our friend Kevin's birthday. And we spent the majority of the time talking about my kids, and catching him up and everybody up with what's been going on. Because sadly, you know, I've not sad. I mean, sadly for me and my friends, you know, day-to-day relationship, which is kind of what it used to be, now becoming like seeing them every few months if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
You know, it just goes hand in hand with being a family guy, and just,
Sure.
you know, I just don't have the time, sadly.
I was, he had a beach party once, and I remember he had a Titanic robe. Do you remember me wearing his Titanic robe around?
No, but I believe that.
And I think I flashed you. And
Well,
I went up to
believe.
Leo with a Titanic robe, and he just loved it. He just laughed his ass off. And he was always so sweet and so laid back and cool. And I just always remember that. I have a picture with us. And I mean, look, I'm sure that, I don't know how many people probably said, "Hey, Jay, can you introduce me to Leo? Hey,
Right.
can you get me an autograph from Leo?" And you're like, dude, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not. That's, you know, when he's that, you just got to kind of say no.
Well, you know what? I actually did say yes to a lot of that back in the day. And in fact, post Titanic, and Leo was still very gracious to do it. I remember my mom had given me this list of names that wanted autographs from Leo after Titanic. And so I actually went over to his house, and he's still living in his mom's house. And I went over there. I asked him if he'd signed some things for these people, and he's like, "Yeah, sure." And so he sat down. The list was like,
There's like 50 pictures.
it was so long, and he looked at me like, "Are you serious? Like, this is a little much, don't you think?" And of course it was. And it was just, I always took a mile, though. You give me an inch, I take a mile.
Dude, Mike Tyson was on the show that I was doing, and I was a regular, and I thought it'd be fun. And I was talking to Mike, and we had a great time. In fact, I had a scene with him, and I was just like, you know, I was doing this thing. And he's like, afterwards, he goes, you boxed before? I go, what? He goes, you boxed? I go, yeah. I take lessons and I box. He's like, yeah, I could tell the way you throw a punch. You know how to box. And we like hit it off, and I was like, oh my God, this is great. And so I thought I had it in with him. And so I thought I'd get the other cast members a glove autographed by Mike Tyson. So I bought all these like gloves, boxing gloves. And I brought him in his truck. I go, "Hey, would you mind signing some gloves for the cast?" And he goes, yeah. And he saw that I had like 10 pairs of gloves. And he goes, "Jesus Christ, man, what the fuck?" And I go, sorry. He goes, "You want me to sign all these gloves?" I go, "Yeah." And I go, "They're just for the cast." He goes, "Just fucking bring them over. Just fucking bring them over." And he sat there and signed them, and I was in silence going,
But he was mad.
He didn't like it.
He was mad at
But
you.
then I walked out thinking, who gives a fuck? I'll never see him again.
Yeah, you hope not.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah, you
I'll
hope,
ne-
you hope you
Yeah, I
never
got
see
the
him
glove
again.
signed. And
That's
nobody
right.
was really that appreciative. I shouldn't have fucking done it. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. I love these guys at BetterHelp, and so many people are getting the therapy they need. You know, it's so important to give therapy a try. And so many people out there don't want to come in and meet a therapist. And what's great is this online therapy that BetterHelp has created has done so much for so many people, because you don't have to be afraid anymore. If, you know, the stigma is gone. You could get a therapist online. And if you don't have a good first encounter, you're like, I don't really I want to try someone different. No cost, no charge. They'll change your therapist for you. It's so easy. And if you're thinking about it, if you got a lot of bottled stuff, that you just need to talk to someone about it. I always find, Ryan, that when I'm talking to somebody, even if I have nothing to say, within 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I'm so glad that I'm talking to someone.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you?
Yeah.
It just feels like it all comes out.
Yeah.
Also, what are some of your relationship green flags? Maybe it's when your partner thoughtfully listens or anticipates your needs. We often hear about the red flags we should avoid, but what if we focus more on looking for green flags in friends and partners? If you're not sure what they look like, therapy can help you identify green flags, actively practice them in your relationships, and embody the green flag energy yourself. Whether you're dating, married, building a friendship, or just working on yourself, it's time to form relationships that love you back. Therapy with BetterHelp can teach you positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient, serving over 5 million people worldwide. Access a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties. Easily switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. Discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/inside to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, betterhelp.com/inside. The Connors has been a huge thing for you. You've been doing it for 5 years.
Yes, I think that's maybe 7.
One of the biggest blessings of your life.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Network television, the world knows who you are now.
Network television, greatest schedule in all of show business, doing as you know, a multicam sitcom.
Good character.
Great character, great co-stars and heroes of mine. And, the crew is fantastic, just one big happy family. And it's a shame that it has to come to an end. So now we're about to start pounding that pavement again and see what's next.
Over?
That's it. This is it.
What do you mean, this season?
Yeah, they're only doing 6.
And that's it. And you're bummed. You wanted to go forever.
I would not have been bummed if it would have gone longer.
Does John Goodman ever nap on set?
All the time.
I knew it. He looks like a guy who's like, just wake me up when it's my turn.
No, he does not. In fact, he is a nonstop ball of energy.
Really?
Yeah.
Is he a great guy?
Yes.
What is it about John Goodman that you look at him and go, he's a movie star. He's a perfect movie star, TV star, both.
He just is such a well-oiled machine in himself. I mean, I think what we do is probably the least challenging thing for him certainly out of what he's doing right now and Gemstones and the contrast between those two characters. Also, it's a character he's been playing for 30-something years, so certainly there's some a comfortability factor there and a familiarity factor that plays into the ease with which you can kind of play that character. But what makes him that? Probably what makes all of us anything, which is, it depends how much of an ass are you willing to make out of yourself. How
many risks?
Yeah, exactly. And how much are you not going to care about the result or the response?
Are you surprised at the success all without Roseanne?
I think that was a big X factor for a lot of people. Nobody knew what was going to happen, and but I certainly wasn't shocked that it stayed as popular as it did and as highly rated as it has been.
Does her character supposedly die?
Mm-hmm.
So she dies.
Yep.
So, right. And she never came on set to say hi?
All the time.
No.
No.
Never. Not once. Not one time.
No. I'm pretty sure that bridge was burned down to the
and
ground.
John and her aren't friends anymore.
That I have no idea.
You don't know. You don't talk to him about it.
No. We our conversations are very limited, but just only because, the nature of a multicam is it's kind of like the old school. You're sitting in your room waiting to be called. You go on, you rehearse a couple scenes, you go back to your room, and it's not like on Mad Men where we would run from the set back to our little common area to get back to playing whatever game we were playing, and stay together the entire time. We'd never go to our trailer,
right?
So it's kind of like you're just shooting the shit in between rehearsing.
But you don't really hang out with anybody on the Connors, right?
No,
everybody's got their own thing.
Not really. I mean, Sarah and I have known each other. That's how I met Toby and Leo, was through Sarah.
Wow.
So that was back when we were 15 years old,
and you've been friends ever since.
Mm-hmm.
What's next? Do you know?
I wish I knew so I could stop freaking out.
Are you freaking out again?
I mean, I'm not to the point of freaking out yet, but it's the position of not knowing employment is coming hasn't happened for a while, luckily, and I've been very blessed, in that regard. So I haven't had to think about it in a long time.
Do you just want to? Are you happy just working? Like, you have a family. Are you just happy just working, getting a consistent job and working? You don't really care. You're not so much about, I'm only doing this or I'm only doing that. Are you pickier?
No, I'm not. Well, maybe just a little bit, but I really, whatever it takes.
Somebody throws money at you, you're going to probably consider it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be fucking honest. I mean, look, until I don't have 3 boys that won't stop eating, no matter how much food we put in the house, but maybe then I'll start to be able to be a little bit more picky.
Yeah.
We're not there yet.
Yeah. Now, look, I know you lost your mom.
Yes.
Recently.
Yes.
And that probably had to be the hardest thing you've ever gone through.
Sure. Yeah.
Was it unexpected?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when was that?
That was June 25th of 2022.
And how do you deal with something like that? Because, you know, I've dealt with loss, but to that magnitude, I'm unsure of that.
Your parents are still with us, right?
They are.
Right.
And I'm not as close.
I remember your
mean,
mom.
I love my parents, but, you know, you were close with your mom.
Oh, yeah. Well, she lived across the street.
She lived across the street. And so, first of all, how do you react? What happens first? I mean, when you hear it, is it a numbing feeling? Does it overcome you? Is it?
Yeah, of course. All of those things. I think shock is the biggest thing, you know, of course. And
Who called you?
well, she was supposed to, we actually called somebody. We called some neighbors to go and check on her because she had not made an appointment. And so the people that she was supposed to have the appointment with had called me. And so that's when we called the neighbors. And then, yeah, sadly I was on the phone when they found her. So that was not pleasant, but you know, yeah, it was sudden and unexpected. And there have been moments since that I've wondered, because I do have friends, you know, my friend Kevin lost both of his parents.
Connolly?
Yeah. And his dad, he lost at a very young age. And also lost his sister.
You
sadly,
called
in a
him?
car accident. No, I didn't call him, but I just remember, he sadly had to watch both of his parents kind of waste away. I'm sorry, Kev, if I shouldn't be sharing this, but anybody that's ever lost somebody that's had a terminal illness, you know, where you have the time to prepare yourself.
You're mourning as they
right. And
right.
the grieving starts before they're actually gone. And so once they are actually gone, and I don't know because I haven't lost a parent that way to compare it, but perhaps it's somewhat easier in that respect, but then you're also having to watch them waste away.
Yeah,
and
it's not good. I've seen that.
And so that's the pro for my scenario.
Yeah.
Right. That I didn't have to see that. But then the con to my scenario is that it was sudden and unexpected, and, you know, not being able to, if there's anything unsaid that you feel like you wanted to get off your chest, which I was very lucky there wasn't, because my mom and I were so close.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
she knew everything.
There was nothing. There was nothing left.
Were you surprised by how emotional you were?
No, I was maybe surprised at how delayed the
emotion,
the sad part of it was for me.
When did that hit?
It really wasn't until the next morning. Yeah. I was kind of just in a stunned, I mean, I cried a little bit that first day as I was having to, you know, which is the most unpleasant part of it, of course, as you're going through all that shock, as you're going through all that, the initial stages of grieving, you're also having, as being her only child, you know, it was incumbent upon me to be the one calling everybody to tell them. And,
the worst.
And that is the worst part, because it's the same conversation over and over, the same response over and over. And it's just all the while compounding itself onto you and making it more and more and more.
And there's certain conversations that you have where then you feel it.
Oh yeah, no, totally. I think that's if I did shed any tears in that at that part of the day, it was like when I was calling her siblings that are still around, and you know, my dad. That was a tough one.
And they're still close? They were
my mom and dad?
Yeah.
No, they were not. But she was still my mom,
and he was very emotional.
Oh, of course, yes. And he came out for her celebration. In fact, he was the first one that spoke at her celebration. But yeah, so that was crazy, and telling our kids was crazy. The hardest part was that we were in Oregon. We'd just gotten to Oregon for the summer, and in fact, we'd just come off the river. We had done a family float down the river, the 5 of us.
So you had a high, and then you're exhausted getting off, and then you hear this.
Yeah, and I didn't, you know, of course, I got these calls all the time from my uncle when he was still alive, because he would call my mom and text her. She wouldn't respond, and he'd call me, something's wrong with your mom. And I'd go over there, knock, knock, knock. Mom, yeah? Like, what are you doing? Or I'd call her, Mom, yeah? She'd answer. Say, what are you doing? Larry is trying to call you and text you, and you won't return his calls. He's worried about you. He's calling me. And she's like, yeah, I know. I gotta get back to him. And blah, blah, blah. So this was just another day when I heard that, right? That's where I thought this was going. But yeah, it was, you know, for any, it's the moment in your life, and perhaps you've been faced with this already through other ways, but for me, I found it was the singular moment in my life where I was forced to recognize my own mortality. That until that moment, I was still in a kind of immortal state of mind, that young kind of invincible, the end will never come state of mind.
And this kind of hits you like a brick.
And then it's like, oh shit,
yeah.
I'm only 30 years younger than my mom. So does that mean I've only got 30 years? Does that mean I've got less than 30 years? How old will my kids be in 20,
You start
30
to
years?
think too much.
You know, where is that going to leave them? Oh God, they're not going to have their dad around at such an old age like I have.
You go
know?
down this rabbit
My dad
hole.
is still alive, thank God, and in great shape,
Yeah.
mentally, physically, you know, has all of his faculties, and I still seek his counsel all the time. And so, yes, so you start thinking about all of that stuff, and you know but then there's positives that come from it, like there is from every bad situation in life, if you really analyze it. And that's that then it starts to make you think, okay, well, what can I be doing better that can improve my life and make it to where I'm doing all that I can to make sure that I'm around as long as I can be. And my mom, you know, you would have had no idea. And what took her out, sadly, was this mix of medication that she had to be on because of all these little things that she had. I mean, she was fine, you know, I mean, mentally and really physically. She was fine.
That's what sucks.
Just had both of her knees replaced. She was getting ready to get back out, go on trips to Europe and all this shit. And then she had an ulcer that was caused by these two conflicting medications that they knew was one of the possible side effects. And, you know, these types of ulcers can come on so suddenly. And if they rupture near an artery, it's lights out. It's just, and that's how she went.
All right. Well, let's go to a positive note.
Okay.
This is it. Tell me. So we met. I was on Fresh Meat.
No. This is going to be from my point of view.
All right. But you remember I was cast last minute.
I understand.
Okay.
Believe me. Okay. So here's the deal. So I was in that state of mind in the late 90s where I refused to do sitcom, right? I was too good for that, right? I hadn't done one since Evening Shade, wasn't interested in doing it. It was probably more fear-based than it was any type of artistic integrity. But then I found out that this was on the heels of one of you and I shared favorite movies, Tommy Boy,
Pete Segal.
and we were still basking in the afterglow of that. And then here comes this show that is going to be written by Fred Wolf, which is another great
and Pete Segal,
SNL alum, and then directed by Pete Segal. And so I thought, oh my God, these guys are like some of my new favorite people on the planet. I gotta go. I don't care what it is. I'll go and work with these guys just to work with them. And so I go out and audition for this pilot that was called Fresh Meat, the worst fucking title
about
for
assistants in the entertainment
ever.
industry.
And it was kind of a wannabe Friends about this collection of young 20-somethings that lived in the same apartment complex, and we all assistants of some kind
assistants.
on
We're
the
all
show.
assistants
Okay,
trying to get somewhere.
Okay. I remember that I was an assistant to
Fred. Fred. Who's the guy comedian? He was in Waiting for Guffman.
What are we
Fred.
doing here?
Anyway, go ahead.
Willard,
Fred
yes.
Willard. Yep.
How dare
He was
us.
great. I love Fred Willard.
May God strike us down.
No,
May Fred
God,
strike
don't
us down.
strike us down.
Sorry, Fred. God rest in peace. But anyway, so I end up getting this thing. I'm really excited about it. We rehearsed for 2 weeks. I'm getting to meet Fred Willard. I think Martin Mull might have been on it too. And meeting these people and working with these people. But Pete Segal was great. And Fred Wolf was awesome. And on the show, you know, it was an ensemble show, but there were 2 male leads. I was one, and this other character was the other. And it was a total Martin Lewis dynamic. I was the straight guy, and this other character was kind of the wacky, you know, goofy, funny guy. And the guy that was cast as this character and I, as well as all the other actors on the show, really got on great. The rehearsals went great. We're rehearsing, we're bonding, we're going out for drinks and dinner. And I developed, by the time it was time to get ready to shoot this thing, I really felt like this other guy and I had that dynamic. We had that chemistry. I thought he was hilarious and was going to make the show, great. And we're going to shoot on a Friday. And I get a call on a Wednesday night. Now, we've been rehearsing for 2 weeks. I get a call on a Wednesday night from Pete Siegel. And he says, I don't know how to tell you this. I'm very saddened and upset by it. But the network wants to replace so-and-so. And I was furious. I was devastated. I wanted to call the network. Pete was like, don't bother. I've tried. There's nothing we can do. We've got to recast it. But the good news is we've got a guy. And we think you're going to love him. We love him. And just do us a favor and please don't take out any of your animosity or anger on him because it's not his fault. And I was just so mad. And thought, oh, fuck this new guy, who cares who he is? I don't care how good he is. This is the guy for the job. I don't want this new guy. I don't even care about this new guy. And, this just sucks. I just hated it. And I felt terrible for the guy that got let go. So, plus, I'm also thinking to myself, we've been rehearsing for 2 fucking weeks. This guy is going to come in. You're telling me this guy is going to come in here the day before we're going to shoot this thing and learn all of the shit and then be able to perform in front of a live audience and pull it off and do a good job at the same time. No way. No way. I was not a believer. So I went to sleep that night. And the next morning I woke up. It's time to go to work. And on my way into work, I was still fuming. But I thought, Jay, you're being ridiculous. This guy whoever this guy is, this new guy, he has nothing to do with this. It's not his fault. And he deserves to be given every opportunity to succeed here. And so I felt it was, incumbent upon all of the cast, but especially me, because our 2 characters are supposed to be so close, to welcome this new guy with open arms and really try to just go into it with a great attitude and make him feel as comfortable as possible. Because the truth was we had a shared common interest in this show working out, right? So everybody had everything to gain from it, and we had everything to lose if we just totally made you feel like an outsider. So I get to set that day, and I'm really nervous about meeting this new guy, really wanting him to be cool and funny and different, because that's what this other guy had been. And Pete Siegel standing there, and I walk up, and it's this gentleman, Michael Rosenbaum. And Pete goes, Jay, I'd like you to meet Michael Rosenbaum. And I stuck my hand out and I said, Jay Ferguson, nice to meet you. And I brought him in and I hugged him. And we hugged each other. And I said, nice to meet you, bro. And we pulled away from each other and he looked at me. And the first words that Michael Rosenbaum ever spoke to me was, whoa, bro, shit sandwich for breakfast?
Did I really?
And what's awesome is in that I laughed hilariously. And in that moment, I knew that we were kindred. Not only were we kindred spirits, but you were the right guy for the job and that this was going to work out perfectly. All from just that first sentence.
What'd you eat, a shit sandwich?
Yes. Oh, it was great. That was one of your famous ones back in those days.
Then. Yeah. I just so you know, I thank you for this. This means the world to me.
I got more. Idea. I got a little bit more. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say you couldn't be more nervous. I had to learn all this stuff in one day in front of a live studio audience. I was freaking out.
And it was a ton of remember, physical comedy.
Physical comedy. I remember I did he wanted me to do a Chris Farley when I walked in.
Oh,
Good Lord.
Oh, yeah. You did a bunch of stuff, man. A bunch of physical stuff. Go ahead. Yeah, no, well, I was going to say that, when you look back, and I love tracing back events to the origin of how they began, right? And when I think back, and like I was saying before, how I've gotten something out of every gig I've ever done. When I look at that gig, there is no doubt in my mind that the main reason I did that was not to work with Pete Siegel, was not to work with Fred Wolf or Fred Willard or Martin Mull or meet any of those people. The main reason that experience came into my life was so that you and I could meet and become friends.
100%. And that's what I get from it.
That was the thing that I got from that gig. And what's even more interesting is, like you were saying, at the time, we both had kind of separate big circles of friends. When
They
you and I met,
merged.
we merged those circles.
Oh yeah,
And there are
Hung out
several
all the time.
There are several people, several friends, and maybe several love interests, romantic relationships that owe that to you and I meeting, and I want our fucking credit.
Absolutely. I think we deserve that credit. It was, yeah, dude, it really was. That's what I always say, that it's the hand of fate. Sometimes you just have to let fate take you where you're supposed to go. And we were there, and it didn't work out with the biggest director coming off the biggest comedy. And, we were promised, we're going to do, I'm going to hire you for this. And none of that matters.
No, but you know what is interesting? Go ahead.
All that matters is that you met someone that would change your life and be a part of your life that you didn't realize that was important to you, that would become important to you. And that's why every moment in life, when they say be present because you never know who you're going to meet or what you're going to get into or you're going to find. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It's great. And it's the miracle of this business, how you can really, once you've been in it long enough, look back and see all of those little origin points, where all of these people came into your life, some that would just maybe facilitate a movement in your career, others that would just become friends.
Yeah, that's it.
And
I had so much
all of
fun
the
with
people that I could think about that I've met because of you, and some of the
vice
people
versa.
that you have met
100%
because of me. And that's what really means the most, because it's easy to get caught up in the preconcepts and the minutia about what is this going to do for me.
Yeah, be present, man. Be open.
The things that you think you want it to do for you, or might not be the things that it does.
Just let it go and see where it takes you.
Yeah,
dude, I love you. This has been fucking great.
I love it too, bro.
I really
come back anytime.
I'm glad you had fun.
Yeah. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. The tail end of it was that out of that pilot, they gave us both deals to do a show together.
Yeah,
do
that's
you remember
right.
that?
Yeah.
And we tried to do a buddy comedy that never really worked itself out. But we both got jobs out of those deals. Me on one show that lasted for a very small amount of time, and you onto another show that lasted for a very long amount of time.
Yeah.
But both of those shows shot in Vancouver, so we stayed together for like another 6-8 months or whatever it was while I was out there.
Fate, brother.
Yep, that's it.
This is awesome.
All right,
you're
bro.
the best.
I love you, man.
I love you too, man. Just a good dude, right?
Just a good dude.
Yeah, I say that a lot. Like, there's a lot of good people around there, but like, you can just tell he's genuine. This guy has had the same truck since I've known him.
Wow.
And I've had the same van since he's known me, pretty much. So he usually has a big beard, and he's just jolly, and his laugh is contagious. But it was great. It was great talking to him. So thanks, Jay. Thanks for being on the podcast. Let's get into other stuff. If you didn't listen to the preamble to all this, rewind, because there's a lot of information, cons and all that stuff. But the top tiers, why don't we get into the top tiers? These are the people that give back the most. Patreon.com/inside of you if you want to support the podcast and give back. And these are in no particular order, but just, I guess, from the first time they joined, maybe that is the order, you think?
I think so.
Nancy D, Little Lisa, Yukiko, Brian H, Nico P, Bob L, Jason Dreamweaver, Sophie M. I saw a lot of these people on the Zoom. Raj C, Jennifer N, Stacy L, Jamal F,
Janelle B, Mike, just Mike. L Don Supremo,
Danny.
99 more.
Yes.
Santiago M, Maddie S, Kendrick F, Belinda N, Dave H,
Dave Hole,
Brad D,
Ray Harada. Beautiful baby boy. Tabitha T, good to see you. And Tom N, and Talia M, Betsy D, Rianne and C, Michelle A, Jeremy C, Eugene and Leah, Mel S, Eric H, Amanda R, William K, Kevin E,
Jor L, Jammin J, Leanne J, Luna R, Jules M, Jessica B, Kaylee J, Charlene A, Marion Louise L, Romeo the Band, Frank B,
Jen T, Talkerman, I saw you there too. Jen T, yes, April R, Randy S, Claudia, Rachel D, Nick W, Stephanie and Evan,
Stefan,
correct, Charlene A, Don G, Jenny B76, you guys have been with me forever, and I just appreciate it. I mean, you're still here. NG Tracy, Keith B, Heather and Gregor.
Grether.
I'll be seeing you guys soon. Ellie K, Ben B, Pierre C, Sultan, Ingrid C, Dave T, David L, Jeff G, Kareem H, and Brian B. You guys, I could not do this without you, so keep supporting me if you can. And those of you who aren't, maybe start. That's all I have to say about that. This has been a real treat. And Ryan, good to see you.
Good to see you
Let
too.
me know how that Helix matrix works for you.
I can't wait.
Yes, from the Hollywood Hills in Hollywood, California. I'm Michael Rosenbaum.
I'm Ryan Diaz.
Little wave to the camera. We love you guys. Be good to yourself. We'll see you next week.